And welcome back. This is Unreal Life, and today we're hosting the Flast launch of their new AI system for family law. This, for those of you unfamiliar with Flast, Flast is a platform developed in Australia to handle to cover family law related matters. It's got a Facebook little messenger thing here, so if you're part of Facebook Messenger, you just click on that and you can talk to the people at Flast. And I'd encourage you, come in here and join Flast as well. So in the meantime, today we're talking about Flast and its new AI system. Before we go into that, I want to just quickly run through some of the technology that exists out there today. So we'll start with Discord, and this is a platform called Midjourney. Midjourney is a platform for basically creating images, and as I click on here, you'll see images appear. Um, when the way Midjourney works is you just go / imagine, and it's got a prompt there. Imagine mother and father co-parenting, co-parenting co-parenting. Imagine a mother and father co-parenting their children. Their children. We want that to be photorealistic. 8K, so it's high resolution. Uh, in a park, like in a park, so it's at home. There's your prompt that we've just made, and you can see a mother and father co-parenting their children in a park, which is waiting to start. So while that's waiting to start, what we're going to do is move over to, oh, hang on, it's already going. It's quicker than I thought. Where did it go? I needed some previous prompt. Oh, here we go. There you can see how it's rendering our what we've just described. Look at the image here that as it's developing here. You can see the detail is starting to form, and right now we're at 93%. And when I click on the image, once it's completed, just scroll down for us now. Here we go. And here's the image now, and you can see the detail that these images have. Now, we're in Flask, we're using these images from Midjourney and other AI systems similar to Midjourney to create the images that we attach to various digests. Okay, moving over to ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT, I'm going to just refresh my screen here and click on Family Law. Oops, Family Law. Scroll to the end. So you can see the last question that we've asked here is, I'm going to just scroll back. Tell me about the best interest of the child and how the family court determines them. Here it is, the best interest of the child, and it gives you the answer in quite accurate detail. We asked it to add in the relevant sections of the Family Law Act. It correctly identified Section 60cc, and it went through and explained all of the requirements of 60cc. So look at the power of this system. Quite accurate in certain instances, but in other instances when we've tried it, it's been all over the place, making up legislation, making up case law, and literally causing some problems there. So if I move over to this system here, this is the legal question answering system of Flask. Flask has developed. This is the first prototype, the alpha or beta version that if you might want to call it. We asked it the same question here, And here it's actually pulled off the answer based on the information in the Flask system. So in the Flask system, we've got the best interest of the child, the paramount consideration. So it's identified the correct issue. Where it got this from is actually a case study, a digest. And the digest is this one here, that the court refuses to make a parenting orders in regarding the children's time with the father. So if I get that and copy that information there, copy that, jump into Flask, which is here. I'll type in that criteria, and here's the actual case that it found that information on, the facts of the case, the issue, what was held there, all of this, the information from that we found there in Flask come off this particular case there. If I go back into Flask system, the new beta version, or has got a number of advanced features now. It gives us a summary of it, identifies the Family Law Act, identifies Section 60cc straight away, tasked with determining the best interest. But you can see it's really working well here. In our Flast.AI app, this is an app that we're developing. The AI app, which will be released to Flask members in due course once we've sort of fine-tuned it. This app here also, with the same question, tell me about the best interest of the child, it comes up with the answer to the best interest of the child. Coming this first answer up here, we've actually asked our app to ask Chatgpt or OpenAI the same question. And then we've got Flast.AI giving our response here from the Flast.AI database. So you can see the kind of power that we're talking about here. So before we go any further here, I'll come back to the Flask page here. Flask has got a launch today of the new Flast.AI system, where it's going to just talk about all of the things I've just shown you with our members. Come and join me for this chat so you can see how this all works. So this is the brief of it. We're going to move into the detailed discussion with our members. So if you want to learn more, see more about it, come and join us right now. We're going to start off with some questions about education and how the education and family law. So come and join me there. We'll get started right now. This is Flask beta version 2. We're working on beta version 3 at the moment, which should be ready by early next week. So I'm submitting the same question that we asked Chatgpt into our systems. Coming back here, so this is our first one. So the generated answer from Australian, this is the question that we asked here. If we go back here, the first answer that Chatgpt gave to that question is this one here. That's the answer that Chatgpt gave. The Flask server, this information here is the raw data. This is the generated answer and the context of the answer. So this answer here is, where did we get this answer from? It came from the Flask digests. We produce a daily court digest. We've got nearly 1,000 digests that we've done of court cases over the last 4 years or so. And it looks at the question that we're asking here, and then it's trying to find some case law and information that supports it. So from an Australian family law perspective, the father can apply to the Family Court of Australia for parenting orders. The orders will determine which school the children will attend and other matters relating to the children's care, welfare and development. The family court will make decisions about the parenting arrangements, etc., etc. And then he goes on and finds some relevant case law and says, okay, well, here's a case, Anami versus Farag, a 2021 case, where the mother opposes the father's application to spend time with the children. Where's the education in that, though? Find. No, so
I don't think that that word education even appears in there. It might have been in the case somewhere that it was considered. So this is, as I said, our beta version, our first beta version, where it's we're still refining this. And the process of refining this is basically training the AI how to answer these questions. So the second generated answer from our second version of this system turns around and says, okay, well, this is some more information that we've been given here. It hasn't given me any case law. So I want to ask it, can you give me some relevant case law about this? And that's going to do a search there as well. So this one is still thinking here. But the difference here about this system is when it's going to give us case law now, this information is coming from the Flast database, not coming from OpenAI's database, not coming from Chatgpt's database. So when it's polling and asking this question of our database, so on this one here, this Anami and Farag, if I get that case there, and we can just check if there was an education component to that case. And in the meantime, up here, can you provide examples of family law cases involving education as an issue? Question mark. So here we've got a relocation case that it's examining. The couple had reached an agreement about the education of their children in context of their divorce. The father agreed to pay for the children's college tuition. So this was definitely a case that we have in Flast. Here's another case that came out of the Flast database. Both of these cases were about education. And here's a third case when it's talking about the education expenses of their children. That's giving us the title of the actual Flast case that was that he was looking at. So that's the case there that was discussed. This case involves a mother who wants to relocate 220 kilometers away with the children. The father opposes that move, and education was an issue. The father raises a very real and legitimate concerns about the quality of education on offer in Town B, being a very small country town. Hence, the court that denies mother's application. So here you can see there was a mother who wanted to relocate. The issue in this case was, well, fine if you relocate, but what about the children's education? They're going to this school now. If you change schools and you're in a small country town, because that's what the word town there implies, then the education is affected. And even though it was not a huge move of 220 kilometers, that was denied there. And if we click on here, you can see the actual Auslie determination in that case, 220 kilometers away. And it's actually called a finely balanced case. So it might have been a more difficult decision to be made there. So anyway, back to those prompts that we were doing here. Okay, so here we've got examples. And now we'll go Watling and Watling. Copy that. I'm just verifying the information that it's come up with. That's all we're doing here at this point in time. So Watling and Watling, you can see the case is here. Here, it's definitely a case about the school arrangements. What's the other case here? Quinlan and Ware. So copy that. back in here, back in here, back there, Quinlan and Ware. There's 2 cases involving Quinlan and Ware. Mother seeks sole parental responsibility against the father. And the other case was father opposes mother's application for sole parental responsibility. So which one involved the education issue? And this is the one that involved the education issue. And the court concluded the mother's regime of 2 hours per day of formal schooling would be inadequate to address. So anyway, I guess you guys are starting to sort of see how this is working. If we go to Chatgpt, the answers in Chatgpt, although they're very detailed, often they're full of errors. So instead of, you can't just rely on this. So this is when I saw this is what prompted us to say, okay, let's do our own AI system where we can put in our own data and work that data. The first version of our system, this is the alpha version. Although it's coming up with 1 case here, some of the information here wasn't accurate enough, because these cases of Gibson and Gibson, they weren't meaning much when we tried to do a search from, which is why we've improved the system to this one here, where it's actually giving us very, very accurate information about this question. And whatever question we ask it, it's going to give us very accurate information. So we're still expanding on this one here as well. But another really cool thing that I can do is upload data. So what I can do, I can jump in here and say, okay, well, I just want to find a good example that I can use to show you something. First instance, let's go to these ones here. Bellamy. All right, this case isn't that long, right? This is a shorter case. So I can just go here, right? And I can go download it in RTF format. I can open that file in RTF format. Select all of that, copy that. Notepad. I'm pasting it into Notepad in just text format, so all the graphics and everything is gone. File, save as. Bellamy. So now it's saved the Bellamy, that file, Bellamy. And now I'm going to go back in here, back into Flast.AI, drag and drop Bellamy's text into that. And now it's uploading the case data of that case file into our AI system. So it'll take a few minutes because it generates, it does it in what's called chunks. So it takes chunks of information at a time that processes it, but each chunk is associated with that one case. If I get that text file or that this file here, and I copy that, which is the citation. Anyway, copy that. This is still going with the embedding there. Okay, it's done. You see that? Completed embedding of the contents of that case. So question system. Do you know the case? Submit. and now it's running. And I'm not sure if I went a bit too quick then, but if I didn't go too quick, it's going to say, yeah, I know the case and this is what it's about. And I want to get another example for you.
Danny.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Mel. I've
Hey, Mel.
just had an idea. This is a great system you've set up, by the way.
Thank you.
If some of us here who are not familiar with the case law, is there any way that you could possibly hashtag or put something in there that's relevant to the case, being child custody, sexual abuse, domestic violence, where you'd put those keywords and it'll bring up all that may be relevant to certain case laws? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly. You know, it's all about asking the right questions of these systems. The right questions, like what we were doing here before, where we started off with one question, and that's the question here. I actually know that was the original question here, and then we've refined the question to get more information, refined the question to get more information, got the legislation, and then it's got to the point of case law. So in a similar fashion, so here is the case of Quinlan and Ware, okay? The case discussed the implications of Family Law Act in relation to child considerations. The court had to assess whether relocating with the father and homeschooling was in the best interest of the child, and whether the mother would be allowed to relocate with children to a different state. The court noted the importance of the children's education and the impact the relocation would have on the children's education. And then it asked me, do I have any other questions regarding the implications of that case? Right? So I might now say, now that we know it knows the case, in the case of Quinlan and Ware, what legislation was cited? And it's just going to go and search that case and look at the legislation and explain what that's what we're looking for, that explanation of what was going on here. So the systems that are being developed here, we're constantly working on this and fine-tuning it, adding information like that Bellamy case that we just added in a moment ago, which we'll search for that again in a second. Watch this now. So let me say I go into, well, I'll just pick a random case, right? Rather than get that particular case, I'll just go for something random that I haven't even published yet. So this one here, as far as I know, no, it's not published. The only people that have seen it is me and Flast News. So here, if I get this information here, that's our summary of that case, our digest of that case. If I go back into Chatgpt and I go, summarize this for me. Now you can do that with case law. It's thinking. And here we go. A court case involving the parenting orders of a 3-year-old child named X is taking place. And this is a summary of that whole case. I've never read this case before. I have no idea what this case is about. The person who does the summaries for us, the paralegal who does that, you know, they just submit them into Flast for me. And then we haven't even, if this case is not even published yet. So here's a straight up summary of that. Just like it summarized that, it's going to summarize that. I'll give you a different question. Summer, can you give me a name of a book that you've read that was dated before 2021, not a recent book, a book.
Think and Grow Rich.
Okay. Can you give me a summary of the book Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill.
It'll know.
If you haven't read it, ladies, read it.
Wow.
And there's your summary. So I'm just giving you an example that, you know, it summarized the case there, but it can summarize anything, and it can even summarize information that he already knows. So here he knows that book. It's scanned the entire book. It's telling you all about it. You can ask it questions about that book. Just like you can ask it questions about case law.
Goodness, our children won't have to go to school anymore. They'll just have to sit there and inject some AI into their brains, and then they'll be the next Einstein.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know,
They'll be lazy
I
little
think
buggers.
that children ought to embrace it, and schools ought to embrace it, because it will enhance learning exponentially. The fact that you can get information so quickly, and you can now the skill is learning to ask better questions to get better quality answers. That's where the skill in this will come from. So if we come back to this case here, in the case of what legislation was cited, and here it's going, it's telling you exactly what the legislation in that case was cited. So if you're involved in a family law, and the example that we've been running with here is a question of education of the children, where the parents are in dispute of the education of the children. So here is picked up Quinlan. It says this is the legislation that was involved in that case. It's also talked about other cases involved, Adamson and Adamson. That was probably cited in that case, Briginshaw and Briginshaw. So if I go, anyway, I'm not going to go through, go back and cross-reference it back again and again, but you can see where this information is coming from. I'll ask it a different question. Can you summarize the Quinlan, and we can just go like that, case in using the IRAC method? All right, so I'm going to send that off there. So that one, we're waiting on that. Coming back here, this is that Think and Grow Rich summary there. So you can summarize anything is the answer. Whatever text you give it, it will summarize that text. You know, from I would encourage you guys to jump on YouTube, type in Chatgpt and type in the words prompt engineering, because that's what you're talking about. And if it's about a specific subject, prompt engineering about this subject, and that will help give you some guidance in anything not to do with law. Okay, any other questions, guys? I'll have a look at what we've got here in this chat here.
Danny,
Yeah.
can I make a proposition for you?
Yeah.
I think what we should do is do a call and have a recording between you and I'm happy to help you with this when it's ready, and just do a short recording that we can then post in the group for people to watch.
Yeah.
Showing the benefits. I know it's a work in progress, and yeah, I know you're so passionate in this space and you've done a wonderful job. You know, that could be quite helpful for everyone.
Yeah, no, I'll absolutely say yes. I'll take you up on that offer. Absolutely.
I've always said I'm happy to help you. Danny, by the way, the reason that have you introduced us all properly? Does people know who I am?
No, everyone's here sort of like, you know, anonymously pretty much, because I don't want to have people exposing who they are. Yes.
Yeah, so Danny's helped me. I've gone through the family courts, 5 years nearly finished, and I'm just happy to help and support Danny and this group. So he's made me an admin because I've gone through it, and I'm here to just mentor and support and gift my time, because I know that I haven't been able to get through it without people that have volunteered their time to support me. So just a bit of what comes around goes around for me, with this beautiful man that's held my hand a few times, 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm trying to write a bloody affidavit about, you know.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Summer. Much appreciated.
He's a gem.
So here's the summary in IRAC method. So if I get this, and that to me is looking very tight still. Now I can get that, copy that summary, go back into here where we were a moment ago, summarizing that book, and I'll ask it to rewrite it. Can you rewrite this using the IRAC method? Rewrite this more clearly using the IRAC method. I'm going to put that there, paste that there. Rather than have to read all that text, that's all one giant paragraph, it's going to tell me now. So you can see how the power of this system now, and the system itself, basically, we're constantly retraining it and training it. And if we find that there's an error somewhere, we get that error and we remove it, and then we fine tune it further. So it's a continual work in progress. And this is why at this point in time, you know, we're not sort of saying this is going to be released directly to the public just yet anyway, but we're happy to field questions and answer those questions. So if you guys jump on Facebook and you post your questions there, I'll sit back or have one of our paralegals sit back and drive the system, ask the questions, and within a few minutes, we're able to provide some very accurate answers here for anyone. And the accuracy of these answers is really up to you know, a legal standard at this point in time already, when it's reviewed by someone who knows what they're looking for here. Yeah, okay.
This actually eliminates a lot of wasted time.
It's all right. So where was I over here? That was the case summary there. We've already seen how we can import a case directly straight off Ausly, and within a matter of minutes, it's in here. I think I've covered just about everything here. So we've gone from Mid-Journey, creating images, where we've gone, you know, looking at the different prompts that you can use and how you can improve those prompts. Chatgpt is something that you can't really rely on. We've learned for legislation or case law, but you know, overall, the information that it provides is generally quite accurate in Chatgpt alone. And now you guys know that we've got our beta or alpha version and beta version of our legal question answering system that's in place for Flast. All right, what about coming back to this AI system? Any more examples or questions that you want to run? Here, as an example, pretend that you're an Australian family law professor and give me a summary of the above using the IRAC method, providing details of relevant legislation, regulations, rules, and relevant case law. So you can ask the question, and the problem that I highlighted for everybody is if you're relying on Chatgpt for the answer, sometimes it just literally makes it up. It literally makes it up, and you look at it and you read it and it sounds right, but if you try and find that case, it doesn't exist. Or if you try and find that section of legislation, it doesn't exist. It's literally just made it up. Whereas the internal system that Flast uses, when this is actually getting its information off our database, that there, when I've asked that question, can you give me examples of family law cases involving education as an issue? The cases that it comes up with here is you can see exactly where the source of that information is. If I copy that and I go into the Flast system, and you guys should all be members of Flast. So all you got to do is click on the top up here where the little magnifying glass is. I'm just putting that in as an example. That text that I've just put in there came from here. I'm just punching that in, and it straight away shows me what that case is.
Beautiful.
So
Excellent.
here's the case, and it's showing you, you know, the discussion on this case on this education issue. This is the Flast summary of that case. Now, if I was someone who was researching like that, I would just get, you would either read all of that, or you'd go copy all of that, punch that into Chatgpt and say, summarize this, and now it's going to give me a quick summary of the case.
That's very cool.
So, you know, instead of wasting time reading the whole case and saying, that's not really applying to me or my scenario, you can go summarize this, and then you read the summary, which is a 1 or 2 paragraph summary, and then you decide if it's relevant or not, right?
Very good. Very good. Yeah, that's got to be good.
Yeah. So you can see how much detail it's going in here in this summary here. Oh, that's summarizing that.
A big case, yeah.
Right. So there's your summary there. In conclusion, the court denied the mother's application in that case to relocate with the children. So you might want to look at that and say, well, why was it denied? There's, you know, if you were trying to relocate with children, look at that, find the reasons why. Or if you want to look for a successful case, you move on to the next one to give you that example.
No,
but that's how quickly it can sort of find that.
Very handy.
I can get this case here, for example, and go in here and punch it in here and say, okay, what do I want to ask it about that? What was the main issue in Degman and in the Degman and Waldron case? Just as an example. So we'll ask that there while that's searching here. So you can see, look, it's a very, very powerful tool that we're talking about here. But if you're only going to be using the Chatgpt version, the accuracy is very questionable. The Flast version is generated off real data, off our systems. So, you know, we've published over 1,000 cases already, and we know that the data is coming from a reliable source that's been, you know, tested. Our digest that we produce for our members, you know, they're read by lawyers, they're used by law firms on a regular basis, because if you're a family law lawyer, it's handy to have this constant flow of cases that's coming from Flast, giving you these short summaries that you can quickly digest. And what the you know, AI system does, it just takes that to the next level and allows you to gain, you know, more access to more information. A lot of you guys have seen me responding to questions in the Facebook groups, and I'm coming back with very long and detailed answers.
Yes.
And people are just blown away. This is
I figured you must save them.
You know, the primary issue in Degman and Waldron was the suitability of a violent parent as a role model for the child. So here's the issue. It's telling you all about what it's about, you know. You know, what section of the Family Law Act was involved, and this information is coming directly off the case itself. So, you know, we can probe it and ask all sorts of different questions. As I was demonstrating previously, sometimes it's a matter of looking at the information from combined sources. It's a shame that we didn't have this part working today for you, which I was hoping to show you, but no, it's still not being fixed there. So next time I'll have this going there as well for you, which is the app. And the app is really something that ties in Chatgpt, and it'll be 3 of our versions of AI that are all being populated with our data. So the data that's going to come back is going to be very, very accurate. It'll show you the sources of information. You can ask about regulations, about case law, about, you know, Supreme Court rules or the court rules that apply. Whatever the question is, it knows the answer basically, because it's just you know, sourcing it from the database that's there.
All right, quick question. When you just made me think, questions. All right, so if you've got questions about how to handle things, you know, or what happens if your lawyer doesn't turn up on the day, like fails to appear for you, is there any repercussion against her, or you know, that kind of thing? Like, or what if you've got a question?
So you can go straight to Chatgpt for that. So in Australian family law, what happens if your lawyer does not turn up on the day?
Oh, you can even write it as,
are there any repercussions for the lawyer?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
Right. So on that question there, I send it off. Several potential consequences, both for the lawyer and the client. For the client, the failure of their lawyer to attend scheduled hearing can result in significant delays of their case. So it, you know, telling you what the problem is going to be. For the lawyer, they can have serious repercussions depending on the circumstances. They might be held in contempt of court, which can result in a fine or a reprimand or even disbarment, depending on what the situation is.
Wow.
So it's just giving you general information here under Chatgpt.
Is this all up and running now? Like this is something
that's live answering your question.
So I can jump onto this tonight and just
you can go and jump on. Yeah, you can. Okay. I'm so sorry. I can't. I'll put it in the chat. HTTPS / openai.com. That's for Chatgpt, right? And for the graphics, which you might not have been here before when we were looking at it, but this is a graphical prompt where our prompt to the system was imagine a strong, empowered woman with a lioness behind her, and that's what it's drawn. That's what it's created from us from scratch within a minute or so.
I love that.
So where was I? Sorry.
Questions. You know, I was wondering if it was live. Can I just go and type questions today?
Oh yeah. So the graphics is Midjourney. You need to just Google that and register for a free account.
What is it? So register a free account of what's it called?
Midjourney.
Midjourney.
Yep.
Okay.
That's for the graphics. For the OpenAI.
Yeah, the question that you just did then. What?
That's for Chatgpt.
Chatgpt.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Right, but Chatgpt, I'm going to repeat, it's not accurate when it comes to case law, and it's not accurate when it comes to legislation, which is why we're doing our own system to make sure that the information that is delivered is accurate information for you guys. So,
well, you're going to be busy. I think there's a couple of anonymous posts coming up tonight.
All right. So any other questions, guys, or should we wrap up for tonight?
This is brilliant.
Yeah.
Well done, Danny.
Oh, thank you.
I second that.
Been with you on the whole journey for the last 4 years, and this is massive.
Yeah, no, it is huge. It is huge, you know, and as I was saying to you before, you know, and some of you have missed this who've joined later, so I'll just show you the prompt here. For example, in here, you know, if I turn around and say, pretend you are a mental health expert and need advice. I am experiencing severe depression and anxiety due to the stress and trauma of family violence,
and family.
my children are affected greatly. What should I do? Now, so this is not, we're not asking it a legal question. We're saying to, this is Chatgpt telling it, pretend you're a mental health expert.
Out of control.
And here you go. Here's your answer. And it gives you all the details there. But depending on the way you do the prompts, you can actually get it to interview you, ask you questions about your case, answer your questions as if it was a psychologist, and you can get into a real deep and, you know, meaningful conversation with it if you like. But otherwise, you can see it's applicable in any area.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
And, you know, you can also do this, you know, write me a poem about how great Flast.AI is for family law cases.
Oh, God.
I thought my chuckle was premature.
Oh, Laura, it's just, there's never in doubt. It's a perfect guy without a single doubt. No, it's a bit of a rough poem. Let's just say rough. Sorry, I'm doing it out loud.
I'm just playing around with it, you know, and, you know, you can see that it doesn't matter what you ask it, it's going to give you the answer, you know, whether, you know.
No wonder it's going to cost you a bit of money, but how much money is it going to cost us to use it?
Oh, no. This is Chatgpt.
Okay.
This is
right.
open. This part here is open source.
Okay.
This is free. You can jump on there.
Have poems.
Pardon?
You too can have poems.
Yeah, you too can have poems. Yeah. And you too can even jump in here and ask it legal questions, as I've indicated up here. You know, here's the legal question that was asked. Yeah. You know, I'm involved in a family law dispute. Dispute involves children. I'm the father. And the mother is refusing to agree to the school I want the children to go. What can I do? And here it gives you the answer. Yep. And then we've improved the question by saying, well, we're in Australia. And then it's given an answer from an Australian context. Right. It's added in sections of legislation. And this is where it starts to stuff up. Some of the sections are right. Some of the sections are wrong. And it's dangerous to rely on what it says there. Can you add in relevant case law? It says, sure, here's the relevant case law, but
could be fake.
It's not accurate is the problem here. And some of it is literally just made up. So that's where the danger of relying on that is. This is where Flast has said, rather than us rely on Chatgpt, we have our own system, we have our own database of information, and we can use that. And under our own system, we can upload data. So I was showing how easy it is for us to upload a new case to the system. So that way, if you know, I want to upload a new case, I can go into, you know, the Ausly. I'm just shrinking that.
And so does that have a fee associated with it?
Well, this is Ausly.
Or no, the Flast.
Flast, right now, we're developing this app that will have a feed. This part here is our internal use. So that's why I'm not sort of showing what the URLs are, all of that, because that's purely for our internal use while we're still refining the system. But I can upload cases in here and within minutes have the system analyzing the case. I can upload a case that has, 200, 300 paragraphs, and within 10 minutes have this telling me all about the case and what it's about, and what the decision was, what the issues were, what the rule of law that was discussed, what the facts of the case were, whatever the question is, I can ask it and it'll just answer it. So that this system is like really, really powerful in the way it generates the responses.
But to actually access it, is there a fee associated with?
No, right now, no. You can just go onto the Facebook groups, post a question via Anon, and we'll punch in the data here and give you the response there.